Let's talk about the why, the how, and the when of having a 5 minute conversation with God. Number one, why? Why should you? Why should you have a conversation with God? Well, what's your answer to that question? Why should you? Perhaps you have not communicated with Him lately, you've disconnected yourself from Him. He's certainly waiting on you if that's the case. And all it takes is to have a 5 minute conversation with Him. Nothing formal, nothing fancy, just opening up your heart and pouring out before Him what's on your heart and what's on your mind, the good, the bad, and the ugly. He already knows anyway. So the why could be because you haven't been in prayer, you haven't talked with Him in a while. Perhaps you've made some errors that causes you to hesitate to seek Him out. He already knows. God loves it when we come before Him and lay everything out before Him on the table. He already knows. We can't hide from Him, no matter how long we try to stay away from Him. So I encourage you, reconnect by having a 5 minute conversation. It's just the starting point. We tend to overwhelm ourselves when we think about going to God, this big God, and we think about the things that we've done, the concerns that we have, our worries and fears, and He already knows them all. And the beautiful thing about it is that He never forces Himself upon you. He never does. He's a gentleman. He waits. He might nudge you every now and then. Perhaps even this video could be a nudge or not. I don't know. You be the judge. But He's waiting patiently, hoping that you come forward, and He's waiting with open arms. Reconnect. Start with a 5 minute conversation. It doesn't have to be any longer than that. Just 5 minutes. How? That's number two. I shared with you the how already. Go to Him, pour out your heart, lay everything out on the table again. And I emphasize, He already knows. So you might as well just verbalize it and share it. And you'll be so surprised in how He responds in a very loving way. You know, many of us, and I know I certainly did, we grow up oftentimes in churches where we're taught that God is walking around with a baseball bat, waiting to ding us on top of our heads after we do this and we do that whenever we feel like we're not pleasing to God. And nothing is further from the truth. Otherwise, we wouldn't even need Jesus Christ, right? God is waiting on you with open arms for you to just come to His throne of grace. And He says to come boldly to my throne of grace. And He responds with love and with mercy. Love and mercy and truth. So why? He's waiting. You've got to anchor yourself back to your Creator. Especially with all that's going on in the world, what are you anchoring yourself to? Your vices, maybe, which we all have a tendency to do as humans. Those vices could be relationships that you know you have no business being in, sex, food, alcohol, You name it. There are tons of them. Gambling. I could do a whole sermon on that. But you know as well as I do that the vices will only keep you temporarily. And they lead eventually to self-destruction. So you've got to find something greater than the vices. Something and someone greater than you. And that is your Creator. And it starts with a 5-minute conversation with God. Now, maybe you're curious about God. Maybe you don't have much experience with Him. I also encourage you to have a 5-minute conversation with God and see how He responds, whether you believe in Him or not. What are you anchoring yourself to? And I'm just asking questions just to provoke thought. Only you can answer. I can't answer for you. Think about that. Are you anchoring yourself in anything that is sustainable, that has stability, that loves you more than anything in the world? Again, only you can answer. And if not, I encourage you to start with a 5-minute conversation with God. Even if you don't believe in Him, you can start by saying, you know what? I don't believe in you, but I want to try. 5 minutes. It costs you nothing. You can do it while you're driving in your car, while you're sitting around at home doing nothing, going for a walk. It costs you nothing. A 5-minute conversation with God. So that's the why, the how, and the when. He's available 24/7. Day, night, whether you're tired or not tired, whether you're at work or at home. Anytime you need to talk. In the middle of the night, when you're crying because something went wrong in your relationship, or someone broke your heart, or someone hurt your feelings, you were offended, you have this storm raging inside of you and you don't know how to stop the chaos, start with a 5-minute conversation with God. It's simple. Nothing complicated, nothing fancy. You're not using fancy language. Use your own voice and just talk. 5 minutes, it costs you nothing. I'll leave you with one verse. That's John 15:1. And it talks about how we are the branches and He, our Creator, is the vine. And so think about a tree, right? You have a tree and then you have all of these different branches that are connected to the tree. How are the branches continuing to receive its nutrients in order for it to produce fruit? It stays connected to the vine. It stays connected to the tree, right? But what happens if someone comes by and snaps a branch off? The branch falls to the ground and it withers away, and it's no longer in a position to produce fruit. It withers away because it's no longer receiving the nutrients that it needs to survive. And so it is with us. For us to stay connected to our vine, to our Creator. He's the source of our strength, the source of our joy, and the source of peace, most certainly. So if you find yourself feeling more frustrated than usual, you're finding yourself angry, disappointed, and you're having a hard time managing all of these emotions, check your prayer life. Have you been communicating with your source, with your anchor, who's the source of all things, your creator? I'm just asking questions. And not just asking questions, but I'm also encouraging you. Just try it. It costs you nothing. 5 minutes in the car, in your bed before you go to bed, when you're out for a walk, when you're working out. Try it. I encourage you. Happy Sunday.